bereavement is parental bereavement, and I know firsthand of this pain after losing my baby girl Milli at just 6 days old. With no indication of complication prior to her birth, it came as a complete shock. We never got to see her eyes, we never got to hear her cry. As the weeks passed and we were riding the tsunami of grief, those around us expressed how useless they felt. They too didn't know that we felt so useless. We didn't even know what we needed. But I knew at that point that I needed to speak out. From Milli's life and death, this podcast was birthed. Little Life, Big Loss. As a safe space to talk about baby loss, grief, trauma, heartache, and hope. A safe space for lost parents to share their stories of their real-life angels. A place for our nearest and dearest to learn about our journeys and to gain a deeper understanding in how to help those who are riding the tsunami of grief. Welcome to Little Life, Big Loss. Hi there, Milli's mum here. My name is Rochelle and I am the creator and host for this podcast, Little Life, Big Loss. Whilst I hadn't planned on adding trigger warnings to the podcast, because let's be honest, our whole life and this whole podcast is one big trigger, I would like to preface a few things. Every episode I record could include any of the following: birth trauma, stillbirth, neonatal loss, termination for medical reasons, mental health, suicide, grief, and all things in and around all of this. Episodes might also mention living children, pregnancy, and pregnancy after loss. Please read the caption for a summary of what you can expect in this episode. The opinions shared by guests on my podcast are the opinions of those individuals and do not always reflect the same opinions of mine. We are not professionals, we are just lost parents sharing our story. If you hear of something that you wish to try for yourself, please seek professional guidance from a psychologist, a GP, or an OB. And finally, thank you for all the love and support that we have been receiving. I'm in love with this safe space that we have created for our babies to be spoken about in such real and raw detail. If you feel connected to an episode, please share it with someone that you think it might help. And if you would like to help our community, we have created a PayPal account, and we are asking that each time you listen to an episode, you just donate $1. If you go to PayPal and you search Little Life, Big Loss, any donations to that account will help us do so much more in this space. Thank you again so much. Welcome to Little Life, Big Loss. I used to count how many episodes I'd done, but I'm not going to anymore. Welcome, Naomi. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Naomi has been super patient this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We are recording the first episode in the studio today, which is super exciting. And Naomi's joining us from home. So yeah, thanks for joining us.
No, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Yeah. So you're out in Toowoomba, cold Toowoomba. Is it cold out there?
Yes. Yeah, it's it's not cold, but it is very cool. Yeah.
It's getting there. We're so used to the Queensland weather.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I know you have listened to some of the podcasts before, so we're going to get right into it. My first question is always, who was Naomi before she experienced baby loss?
I was and still am a mum. I've got 2 beautiful little girls, a wife. I was a hairdresser. Like a sister, daughter, still am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that the day we lose our baby, it changes us from the core. And so how much has baby loss changed you since Alfie?
Yes. I think the biggest thing is I always say to people that day, a part of me died too. It has taught me a lot more about patience, being a better friend and stuff like that. Because I used to be very much me.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm more of a
I love that. I do find I think baby loss can make you bitter or it can make you better. And I feel like even in myself, like I had someone say to me last night, even after everything you're going through, you're still so fucking kind. And I'm like, well, you know, I think it can make you more empathetic. So,
Yeah.
So let's talk about your journey to conceiving. If you want to go back to the girls, or if you want to start with Alfie, wherever you want to go, let's talk about your whole journey. You can start wherever you like.
Yeah. Well, so I was diagnosed with PCOS and endometriosis back in, I think it was 2017. So from there, like I had like that's when I met my partner. I said to him, like, you know, this is what I've got. The chances of me having kids are very low. So from that day, he was all in. So it was always a case of, okay, well, we're not going to do anything to stop it. And then just after 12 months together, we actually fell pregnant with Gracelyn, who will be 5 this year.
Yeah.
So that came as a very big surprise. Then with her, like her pregnancy was easy, a decently easy labor as well. The only thing that happened was epidural failed. They had to replace it. Everything was fine from there.
Yeah.
And then we started trying basically straight away. So that TTC journey is so agonizingly hard. And that was 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years of trying and then fell pregnant. Her pregnancy was a little bit rougher in the aspect of like stress and stuff like that. I had actually started like early labor around, I think it was 33 weeks. Nothing too dramatic. It was just, you know, constant contractions. But then at 38 weeks, I had woke up at midnight in excruciating pain, unimaginable pain. I've got up, I've jumped straight into the shower because I'm like, what is going on? And then, so from there, like I've called the maternity ward and they're like, you don't need us, you need an ambulance. And like, because I'm like, I can't stop. Like it just wouldn't stop. And so yeah, the ambulance came, they took me up and they literally thought I was about to have her in the back of the ambulance because it wasn't stopping. It was back to back. Get up to the hospital. My waters had broke, but I'm only like 1 centimeter, 2 if they stretched it.
Yeah.
So that was a very long process. And poor old me with my first, so after the epidural, everything sped up so much. So I was like, I'll just have the epidural and, you know, hopefully things will be quicker. I shouldn't have.
Oh, shit.
So because I was laying down the whole time, 4.5 centimeters, I got stuck. Well, she got stuck. And it was the, you know, talk of we may have to take you for a cesarean if she doesn't start moving. They managed to get her moving, and then I got to 9 centimeters, and it was okay. You need to go for a cesarean, like she's not moving. So they've taken me in. It gets a bit crazy because I don't have a cesarean. So I was rolled up on my side and they were trying to get the spinal block in. So while they were doing that, it must have allowed enough gravity to pull her down and to come out. And I remember the anaesthetist saying, you know, we can't get the spinal in. You know, do you want to go to sleep or us keep trying? And I'm like, you know, just put me to sleep. Like, you know, like I'm hearing all the buzzers going off, all that. Like it's crazy. And the doctor's like, I just want to do one final check before she goes to sleep. Like the mask is like right near my face, ready to go to sleep, everything. And the doctor's like, no, stop. Like this baby's like coming out now. So managed to deliver her naturally. So that was a big shock. Like I had just gotten, into my mind, okay, you're having a cesarean. No, she had to make a
Wow. And
grand
so would that have
entrance.
been dangerous to the
So,
baby if they ended up doing the spinal? Would that have been bad?
oh, I think I don't know. I wouldn't have had any control really though then.
Mm.
They didn't really say too much about it. So yeah, like with her, like I did have the epidural as well.
Mm.
But over time it did start to fail as well. They replaced it, still wouldn't work as well. So my back is just not great for
Mm.
epidurals and spinals and stuff like that. Yeah.
Wow. And what's
Yeah.
her name?
Liliana.
Oh, that's
And she's going to be 2 at the end of this month. Yeah.
That's so cute. I was just there's a Instagram page I follow, and the other day they did a post that said, "Tell us what your grandmother's names are, and let's like have these names come back." And my grandmother wasn't Lily, but it was the first name that came to my head. I thought, oh, because I had an auntie Lillian, and she's like super old now.
Yeah.
I think she's passed away. Actually, I should know
Yeah.
that. Like my mum's auntie, and I was like, that's such a beautiful old name. I love that they're
Yeah.
coming back.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I love it. Like her name was supposed to be Leilani. And the pediatrician, when I was leaving the hospital, was like, "Oh, so her name's Liliana." And I was like, "No, but I like it."
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. So you've got Gracelyn, who's
Yeah.
almost 5. You have Liliana, who is almost 2. And it took you 2 years to
Yeah.
conceive her. And so isn't it crazy? I was just thinking when you were saying that, like, you fell so easily, what would I say, with Gracelyn. And then
Yeah.
when you're trying to conceive, it's so stressful. Like,
Yeah.
it's so frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then how long
Yeah,
after her...
it's horrific. Like,
sorry, continue. We've got a bit of a lag.
oh no, you're right. Yeah. She was only 5 months when I fell pregnant with little Alfie.
Mm-hmm.
So a big, big change. So during that period too, just before conceiving Alfie, I had found out I had gallstones. So that is what put me into labor with Liliana.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Ouchies.
And then so I was booked in for my surgery on the 29th of November, 22, and 28th. So my daughter, Gracelyn, the oldest one, kept saying that, there's a baby in your belly. And I'm like, no, there's not. Like, no. Yeah. So on the 28th, I was like, I'm just going to do a test. Like, my period was due that day. And yeah, lo and behold, I was pregnant. And so I went up and I was like, I'm pregnant. And they're like, we can't do the surgery. You have to wait.
Oh, shit.
And like parts of me sit here and go, I do wish I had the surgery then. Like the chance of losing him then were extremely high. And I may sound selfish when I say it, but I wish it was then and not later, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then, yeah, from there, like I kept having attacks while pregnant. I was in and out of hospital.
Like
I had
gallstone attacks?
lost 50 kilos. Yeah. Gallstone
50,
attacks, yeah.
50 kilos.
Yeah.
50.
Yeah. I put a lot of it back on now, but yes, 50.
Wow.
Yeah. I had lost 50 kilos in that time. So I was quite small. That's probably why I fell pregnant so quickly too.
You'd lost 50 kilos
And
intentionally, or was
yeah,
this
so kept having
from the gallstones?
no. So with the gallstones, I had to eat within a low fat diet.
Yeah.
So I was barely eating. Like each meal, it was, a max of like 3 grams of fat, per meal. Um, it just fell off. Like that was in 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
yeah,
my
it just, yeah,
my
fell off and
when
it
I
was,
was
yeah,
in an
crazy.
when I was in and out of hospital with undiagnosed endometriosis, I would be in excruciating pain, and quite often they misdiagnosed me with gallstones or kidney stones. So it's a very similar pain to that of
Yeah,
endo pain. And
yeah,
yeah, so I can only imagine what you're going through. You have
yeah.
PCOS, you have endo, and you have gallstones, and then you fall pregnant. Like that's a wild fucking recipe.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. Like it is honestly like the gallstone pain in attack is way worse than labor.
Wow.
Way worse. Like it was so painful, like, and a bit TMI, like the only thing that reduces that pain is vomiting. You've got to continuously just keep vomiting.
Fuck.
So yeah, like I'm there forcing myself to vomit with every attack. So anything I'd eaten,
Oh, because
it was
it's
just
food
gone.
induced. Okay, so you're trying to bring the food up to get it away, yeah, so that it doesn't go
Yeah,
down the other way. Fuck.
yeah,
Oh, you poor
yeah,
thing.
yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah. So I had got to, I think it was my not like about 9 weeks. Um, so if still everything was fine with him, I had an appointment with the surgeon, and they're like, we want to do the surgery like now. And I said, when's the safest, you know, like time to do it? And she goes, after 12 weeks. But with the amounts of attacks you're having, I think we need to do it sooner. And I said, no, like I didn't want to put extra risk on now.
Hmm.
Um, so she was like, that's fine. Put me through still as like an emergency, but after this date. They had booked me in at 15 weeks. Um, so I went in, had my gallbladder removed.
Wow.
Um, I do remember waking up going, is my baby still alive? Like, um, and yeah, they had a midwife come down. They found his heartbeat. He was all good.
Mm.
So he made it through that.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was great with that. Yeah. Strong little boy he was.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what was your
So then
recovery
from
like?
there,
Yeah, sorry, continue.
um,
I'm just going to let you
like,
talk because this lag is crazy.
oh no, you're right. Um, my recovery, it was pretty hard. So I was sat up in the lounge chair for about the first week. I couldn't lay down. It was too much pressure on belly. So I'm sitting up, sleeping in my lounge. And then, like still happening to be a mum, the cooking, the cleaning. I did have a lot of help, but I'm someone who's like, no, I've got to do it. I've got to do it.
Mm.
um, so, and yeah, like from there, everything went well. Like I did go to the doctors um, at one stage. I can't remember how many weeks, but I said to her, like, I just don't feel him much. And she checked for his heartbeat. Heartbeat was fine, sent me for an emergency ultrasound. Everything was fine. But I had an anterior placenta
Mhm.
as well. So with the girls, my placenta was up, like right up under my bust area. Um, yeah, so it was so different. Like I just never really felt him much. Um, and like so that was weird for me. Um, and I know you know that.
Mhm.
It's yeah, so different. Um,
And what was
and
her
then
advice with that? Like when she would say
I
that, what was her advice with the anterior placenta?
the same as everyone gets told.
Mm.
I've heard. Um, it's, it's just because you've got an anterior placenta. That's why. It's nothing to panic about. And so I walked out of there going, okay, like he's fine. I'm just not going to feel him too much because
Mm.
of where my placenta is placed. And so kept going. I had my 20-week scan. It was still good, measuring perfectly. I had an appointment with the midwives at 21 weeks. He still had a heartbeat, and then got through 22 weeks. And I remember waking up on, I think it was the Thursday, so the Thursday before I had him. I woke up and I was like, oh, I felt weird. I was like, I just don't feel pregnant. And I was like, naive. You're just like, no, like I know I'm pregnant. But it was
Mm.
just this weird feeling of I don't feel pregnant anymore.
Fuck.
And so I've just and then come to Friday, um, I called up my in-laws and I said, can you just watch the girls? I just want to go up, get checked, make sure everything's okay. So I've gone up and, um, I'm sitting in the waiting area waiting for them. They call me. I've gone in and I was like, I know he's fine. I want to make sure that everything is okay. And yeah, so they hooked me up. Well, tried to find his heartbeat and they couldn't find it on the Doppler.
Fuck.
And poor old me, I was like, it's fine. Like my was the same. Like she liked to hide. So I'm here. I am like, it's fine. He's
Mm.
fine. She's gone out to get a doctor. The doctors tried with the Doppler and she couldn't find it. And then she's gone to get the bedside ultrasound and she didn't show me the screen. And she's looking around and then just like I can't remember how many, but there was like a few midwives and the doctor. And I just remember the doctor grabbing my leg
Mm.
and saying, I'm so sorry. He doesn't have a heartbeat anymore. And then they were like, we're going to send you for a big ultrasound just to confirm, like maybe it's this machine. So they've taken me down and I remember like I looked up at the screen and there was nothing, like there was no movement. It was just like this little ball, like not ball, but he was just floating, like um yeah, so that like I knew instantly and I just hurt my head and the midwife who came like took me down, she just grabbed my hand and squeezed me so tight and she didn't leave my side at all. Like she was beautiful. I cannot remember her name. um so they've taken me back up. um they've taken me to this private room. um and it was just like we sat there. I had called my mum and I was like, he's gone.
Mm.
And she's like, she was like, what are you talking about? And I said, like the baby, he didn't have his name then.
Mm.
I was like, he's gone. He doesn't have a heartbeat. I was like, I really need you to come down. She was out at Dolby, so um, she quickly packed up the car and headed down. Um, then I had to call Dad, um, and like I remember that morning we had a bit of a joke, and a bit of dark humor, I said, like, I just, I want to make sure he's okay. And he turned around to me, like, I said something like, what if I've got a dead baby just floating around inside of me? And he's like, oh, well, that's the cards we get dealt then, hey. And yeah, little did we know it was the truth. And when I called him to tell him, he just like, he was very like, what? No, like, no, that he's got to be okay. Like, he's fine. Like, yeah. And so that was hard. Like, he was probably one of the last people I actually told because I didn't know how to tell him. Like,
This is your
yeah, like, so
husband, you
I was
mean?
all by myself up there. Yes, yeah, yeah.
So
So he was at work and yeah. Um, so then the doctor came in and was like, this is what we've got to do. You can go home, think about it, or we can do the first dose of the like thing to start stimulating the cervix to go into labor. And I was like, I want it done now. Like, I'm not going home just to sit here, like to sit there and, you know, knowing, not like, and also not knowing when it was going to start. And so they done the first tablet. And,
so
I
you
think the
didn't go home, you
hardest
just
thing with
stayed there?
that was on the pay. I did go home after they placed the first like tablet thing, whatever it was. So you can either like swallow the tablet or they place it up near your cervix.
Okay.
And they say that up near your cervix is it helps stimulate a lot more. Um, so I chose to have it placed up near my cervix. Um, and like the paperwork, like the hardest thing with the paperwork, because you've got to, read it all, like this is what you're having, is on the paperwork, it says, termination on the paperwork. And they're like, we're sorry, like it's all we have. And it's it, I'm like, I wouldn't be terminating my child, if he was still alive. Like, and it's hard, like reading that, knowing you have no choice but to deliver that baby because they're already gone. Like there's nothing. And so from there, like had the dose. I went to my in-laws' house because that's where everyone was, and um, I like yeah, the girls came running up to me. Well, not Lily, but Grace came running up to me, and she's just cuddling me, and um, like no one knew what to say, and that was hard. Like I wanted to be held. Like I had done all that all by myself, and I just wanted, you know, but like yeah, sometimes I think people don't know how to express how they're feeling or yeah, knowing what to say in that situation.
And I guess like on that,
Then I went home.
I think my thoughts, like there's not much someone can say. So I think it is just holding the person and crying with them and fuck, like this is shit. What the fuck? Like, do you know what I mean? Like they're the only things that can be said that is like fuck.
Yeah, yeah,
And just
yeah. And it's literally all you can say, like
crying and then holding and cuddling, and that's about it. And I guess some people are words people and some people, I'm a words person, and even that's all I would be able to say. But I guess other people could probably just go into help mode, take care of the kids, clean the house, get shit done. That's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and that's what like they done. Like, I didn't have to worry about the girls. I didn't have to worry about cooking, nothing like that. Um, like I just came home. Like the girls did come home with me that night. My mum stayed with me and everything. And then I was supposed to go in on the Saturday afternoon to continue the process, but they called me on the Saturday morning and they said, we need you to come in Sunday morning only because, it needs X amount of time to like fully work. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I had packed up, like got everything ready, went up Sunday morning, and I just remember driving up to the hospital, and it was the thing of like, this can't be my life. Like, it was like, what? Like, this can't, like, how is this my life now? And so got up there, they got everything started, gave me the second tablet, and within an hour, my contractions were just bad, like going. And so, yeah, from there, they wheeled me over to birthing suites, and they had actually put me into the room where I had first started labor with Lily. So, like, I was a bit like, oh, like, and they did offer to move me, and I was like, no, like, it's okay. Like, it was a nice room and stuff like that. And like, so with the girls, Graceland was 30-hour labor. Lily was 24. So I was there like, this is probably going to be another very big labor. And it still was, considering I didn't have to get fully dilated. So he was still 10 hours of labor. And so, yeah, like during that, like my mum had contacted one of my friends who was doing photography and said, Naomi was wondering if you would come up and do some photos like once he's born. And she was like, I'm more than happy to come up during her labor. So she has some labor pictures. And at first I was like, no, like, it's going to be traumatic. I knew that. But I eventually was like, no, like I'm going to want these photos. And so she came up and she took photos and yeah. And then I asked if I could go in the bathtub in there. And the midwife was like, we'll go check with the doctor. And she came back in and she's like, yes, like you've got the all clear. And like my thing with that, with the dark humor was, it's not like he's going to drown, is he?
Oh, yeah.
It's the only coping mechanism. So, yeah, I hopped in the bath and I was in there for quite a while.
On that, I'll just say when Milli wasn't moving, like, so we obviously birthed her, she wasn't moving, and as the days went on and like she had no movement, Dylan made a joke that I had eaten so many KFC twisters during my pregnancy that Milli had become a twister and that she didn't know that she was a human. And so that was, I guess, like, you do make jokes in a sense of like trying to make light of a very, very shit situation. And so even the other day I'd had a twister and we, it brought up again that Milli was a twister combo because I'd eaten so many of them. So, I guess we do say, what I'm trying to say to you is don't feel guilty about having that dark humor, because sometimes you just say things in the moment of like trying to make light of a very, very shit situation. And I did want to say as well, like when I hear of these stories, I always think like how scared you must have been when you, I'm going to cry, like when you went home and you had to like be a mum and still be there with your girls and be around people and your baby's passed away. and you've been given a tablet to essentially go into labour, and then you think you're going to go in on the Saturday, and then they call you and ask you to come in on the Sunday. You must have been so scared.
Yeah, and I was like, and you're like my baby is like, yeah, still inside me, but he's dead.
Yeah.
Like, you're literally carrying death inside of you, and that is like, it's hard, like, and trying to explain that to people, like, it was hard in the aspect of like, I literally was carrying death, and I didn't know how to cope. I didn't know how to tell my girls, and it was just like, obviously Lily, she was still young. She was only 10 months old when I actually had Alfie. And yeah, like, so with Graceland, it was a case of like, you know, he had to go. He's gone to heaven, and like, it was always why. Like, I have one thing I've found, like, with kids, you've got to just be straightforward. And I'm like, he died. He couldn't be here anymore. Like, he must have been sick or something. And she was like, oh, you know, okay, like, and I was like, but he's going to be with us every day still. Like, he's going to be looking over us, and, you know, he's going to be protecting you and your sister. And like she big time after. Like, she was cuddled up into his blankie and cuddling his little teddy. And that's just how she wouldn't sleep any other way. And it was like that for at least a month after.
Because
So
how old was
that
she?
was
She was,
hard.
did you say 3?
She, yes, would have been 3.
Yeah. So she would have been so
at that
excited
time,
to have a little brother.
She turned 4 at the end of the year. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And yeah, so yeah. But yeah, back to the labor, like, so with Lily, like, although it wasn't like overly traumatic, it was still like, with everything that was going on during her labor, like, it was, you know, quite traumatic. I knew going in there I couldn't have the epidural, so I had to do it completely natural. The only thing I had was gas. And like, it's very, people think I'm weird when I do say it, but it was very healing. It was still, you know, super traumatic, but it was such a healing experience. Like, any fears around labor was gone. And it's still sad that that experience was due to a very traumatic experience. But yeah, like, it was amazing. And like, my midwives, like, I had one super lovely midwife who I later, after I had him, found out that she, her brother and his partner had actually had to make the decision to terminate a pregnancy due to medical reasons. So she was very sympathetic during that. The other midwife was a little bit less, she, my friend being there taking photos, she kept getting in the way of my friend. So it's very hard for her to take photos. Yeah, she didn't really speak much. I do remember, as I got closer to birthing him, she's like, you know, you need to lay down. You need to lay down. And I'm like, I'm out of it. I'm not listening. I'm just doing my own thing and letting my body do what it needs to do. And so from there, like he just. So what happened was, I had gone flying back on the bed because he was coming out. And at that point, everyone thought I had passed out because I was white. Like, yeah, but I wasn't. I was, yeah, I had flung back onto the bed because I was sitting up on the bed, kind of like leaning over, crunched over, and yeah, gone flying back. And he's come out. He was born in his sack still, and my friend managed to get photos of it. So I'm so grateful for that. Yeah, like it was beautiful little photos. Yeah. And then so yeah, they placed him up on my chest and cut his cord, and like I was in that love bubble of after having a baby. Like it was like I don't know how to explain it, but like I was sad, but I couldn't cry because it was like this is my baby, like this is my baby, you know. And like I remember cuddling him and just looking at him, and like he was so perfect. Like he had massive big shoulders.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, one of the midwives, you know, they were like, if he did get to full term, you probably would have had a lot of trouble birthing those big old shoulders. So he was very broad. And then like I had some more photos taken. I took some photos. I do remember, so Lachlan, he had taken off, like he walked out of the room. Didn't know where he went. So I said to my mum, you need to call his mum. His mum needs to come up here. Like he, you know, I've got you, but he needs his own support person. So yeah, my mum called her. She came up and she came in. She couldn't find, like she didn't know where he was. So she came in and had a cuddle. And she, like, this is so unfair. Like he's absolutely perfect. Like there is like, you know, she's like, what, like, what's the reason? And like, there was no reason. Like in that moment, there was no reason as to why this had happened. It was just this perfect little bundle of joy, and he had just passed away. I do remember when my placenta was delivered, the midwife goes, "There's a dead spot on here."
Okay.
And when I went for that 6-week appointment after, there was nothing mentioned about that. And I said to them, like, the midwife said it, and he goes, well, no, you must be mistaken because there was nothing wrong with your placenta. Yeah. And like literally everyone in the room, like, because you know, you feel a bit insane. So I was like, did the, like, you know, what did the midwife say about the placenta? And everyone said the same thing, that, you know, she said that there was a dead spot on the placenta, and that may be the reason why he had passed away. And yeah, so from there they had taken me over to the room with the butterfly on it, and I stayed in there for the night with him and just cuddled him, and didn't have a cold cot. I don't know if my hospital doesn't have them at all or not, but during the night while I was sleeping, they would just come and take him and put him in their like fridge or something. I have no idea about any of it. And then the next morning, my mental health nurse came up and she just cried with me, um, and then the doctors came. I had a lovely lady in Toowoomba who done this for me.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Made the casting, yeah. So she done that, and that was all free. So that was nice because in that position you're like, you know, how much is this all going to cost me? Like, you know, and yeah, so she done that. I got to help her do it, so that was really nice. And because he was so little, I didn't get to dress him, anything like that. but they had put like a little beanie on his head and stuff like that. So that was really nice to be able to see him kind of like dressed up. And like, sorry, I get very, my brain goes 100 miles an hour.
No, that's all right. I'm going to
Um,
put my hand up if I want to chat just so that there's no lag. But I love those and I think
yeah,
they're so beautiful. And if anyone's watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see that you just held up the little castings. And I love that you did them as well because sometimes, like, even though it's been 10 months since we lost Millie, every now and again someone says something and I think, fuck, I wish I did that. Like, my friend's mum, who was running the funeral for us, did a foot casting with clay and a little hand. And because Millie was so, like, you know, no muscle tone, hers, like, kind of looks like this. And it's so beautiful. But I think in the time they did offer for us to do the castings there and then. And I think we were too scared and we didn't. But I really wish we did. So
yeah. And like, it is so scary, like, you know, because he was so fragile, like he was so little that trying to do the print was so, well, doing the cast, like it was so hard to do it in an aspect because, you know, any wrong move and his little foot or hand could potentially rip off. You know, so we had to be so careful with it. So it was very scary doing it. But I was grateful for her. Like she was amazing. Like she was a midwife too, and she just liked to do it, you know, for parents in those situations, to create as many memories as she can as well. And I got the the wings box as
Precious Wings,
well.
yeah.
Can't remember what it's called. Yes, I got one of those boxes as well. Um, so he weighed 275 grams. He was 23.5 centimeters long, and his head circumference was 17 centimeters.
Little papa.
Um, yeah, he's so tiny. And it's crazy too. So he was born at 8:57 p.m. and my time of birth was 7:57 p.m. So although there's, you know, an hour difference, it was just crazy that, you know, 57 was
Yeah.
both the same and same star sign, everything. Yeah.
Oh.
So that was kind of crazy. Um, yeah, so I had lots of cuddles with him and then it got to the point where I was like, I can't sit here, you know. I didn't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
So I think it was like about 3 p.m. I had packed up, gave him a goodbye kiss, and we swapped the teddy. So we took his one that was cuddled with him, and he took the one, you know, that we had.
I love that.
And yeah, it was very hard walking out of the hospital with just the box, like, and you know, it was. I don't even really know how to explain it, but it was just like, you know, in a way you're like you almost wanted to sit there and just, you know, scream like, this is all I've got of my baby now.
Yeah.
Like, you know, yeah,
The box.
it's hard. I've gone back and just like come home, um, and I've gone to bed and I've just slept, um, and yeah, woke up. The girls got dropped off and just spent time cuddling with them. And I remember this one little moment and it completely broke my heart. So Lily, while I was pregnant, would just cuddle up to my belly and just, you know, I don't know if she could hear or something, but she'd lay her ear on my belly and she'd gone down to do that. And she just sat up and she looked at me like this weird, devastated look of, wait, what? Like,
No
yeah, it was so,
way.
like, that was
She
kind of, yeah.
100% knew. That
So
is
I don't, yeah,
Crazy.
yeah,
Oh my word.
yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, it broke me so much. I was like, she knew, and now she knows that there's nothing in there.
fuck.
And it was just like this, like, I don't know how to explain the look, but it was just like I had done something wrong. Like it was just pure, like, kind of like almost like a hatred look. And yeah,
Wow.
it was so hard to see like your own child sitting there looking at you like, what
What
the
have you
hell
done?
is
And there
going
was,
on?
yeah, there was something in here. And like, I mean, they say that
Yeah.
dogs and cats know. If dogs and cats are smart enough to know, then so are our
Yeah.
babies. Like, she would have been able to feel him or hear him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And like, um, my dog Dusty, so he like when I got home, he didn't leave my side. He just sat there just resting on me. So he knew as well. So that was hard. Like, because he was a dog that he wouldn't really go. Like, he loves people, but he'd rather you play with him than
Mm.
sit down and just cuddle with him.
Yeah.
And he just didn't. He sat there and he basically cuddled up to me. So yeah, I do believe he knew as well. Um, and yeah, then the process started of the funeral side, and yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to say, so did they end up testing the placenta, and was there any proof of what happened?
So yes, I chose to do just external autopsy
Mm-hmm.
on little Alfie. Um, so that I don't believe that full report came back, but like the basic report basically said there was no reason that was wrong with him. He was perfect. There was no genetic reason or anything like that. The only thing the doctor said to me was that his cord was a little bit long. And so sometimes in those cases, baby can be laying on the cord and basically cause like a clamp almost. So from the umbilical cord to the placenta, which then in that aspect would slow down what he was getting, like all the nutrients and everything he needed to grow, basically caused it to stop. Um, yeah, so that's
It's,
that's
we are like
literally the
absolute
origin.
miracles, right? Like any human that is born and come to life is like, because if the cord's too long, if the cord's too short, if the cord's not attached properly, like there's just so many things. And I don't think anyone outside of the baby loss world realizes that every single child that comes to
Yeah,
life is such a miracle. Like, fuck.
yeah, yeah. And like it does it, it made it like looking at my girls like after it was like completely different light. Like it was so hard, like having to still get up and be a mum every day,
Mm,
but you like the gratitude you have like for those children
so true.
is just you know like I still remember like all the sleepless nights I would have because I was like, oh, what if Lily stops breathing, or what if Graceland stops
Mm-hmm.
breathing. um so I was reaching the point of exhaustion, and um like I went to my mental health nurse and I said, I can't do this. Like, this is like, I feel like I'm going insane.
Mm-hmm.
So she put me onto antidepressants, and I'm still taking those. And
Yeah.
they helped a lot. Like, I think the worst one was I had a heater in her room, and it was just an oil heater. And in my head, I'm like, what if like something catches a light in here and I can't save her because
Mm,
she's in a room by herself? Like I literally felt like I was going insane.
yeah.
Um, Yeah.
which I think is so valid and so normal. I think even outside of baby loss, you know, so many mums. I had a girl bail me up at this wedding the other night, and she had a 5-month-old inside, and then she said, "Oh, so do you have kids?" And I told her about Milli, and she was like, she'd never even experienced loss, never struggled to conceive or anything, and she has all of those fears. And I'm like, add in losing a child, and those fears are like beyond comprehensible. Like, I'm constantly so scared, and I don't even have my next child yet. So I can only imagine having living children and then losing a child. You're just going to feel, and somebody else commented on that on Instagram the other day, just saying you constantly feel like everyone around you is going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. And you do, like, literally every single person. Like, so I had fell pregnant in January this year. And during those first few weeks of pregnancy, I was having dreams about, you know, my brothers dying, of silly things. Like, one was a heart condition, one was a car accident, and I also had dreams of Lily dying, and Graceland dying.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how even, you know, to that, like, it was affecting my dream
Yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah. And so
But
I
unfortunately,
love that you
I
did.
did lose.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Such a lag here.
Oh, no, no. Um, yeah, I was just going to say that unfortunately I did lose that baby at 7 weeks in March. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Goodness me. And was there any reason for that? Are they thinking that there's a reason why this has happened, or is it just?
I don't think so. Like, all the blood work, like the HCG, was all perfect. Had an ultrasound on the Thursday. Baby still had a little heartbeat there.
Oh.
It was perfect. And then Friday, Friday night, right at bedtime, baby came out.
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah,
So shit.
I will admit it was pretty cool. Like, it came out in its little sack, tiny little sack, and you can still see the like little baby in there, like where the eyes were gonna be. You could see like where the limbs were starting to grow. Like, it it was hard, but it was quite amazing seeing that even at 7 weeks, how developed a tiny little baby is.
I actually have a photo because we had a miscarriage, and a 7-week miscarriage, 6 or 7 weeks way back when we first started trying. And I remember taking a photo in the toilet of and I was like, and then obviously fear. And I was like, and I flushed, and then I was like, oh my God, like that looked like a baby. And then I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, no, surely not. But yeah, absolutely. That's still.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
going to say something and I forget what it was. Let me just.
But yeah, like, yeah.
There was. Oh, yeah, I wanted to say, because I know that a lot of midwives and medical professionals are listening now, and I just think back, I can never get out of my head how scared that you must have been when you had the news and then you're waiting to go in. And I think, like, midwives and doctors and stuff are probably just on autopilot when somebody comes in. But I think imagining how you as a mum feel, of course you have your child inside of you who has passed away and you're about to birth them, but also thinking about how the last 24 hours have just played out for you. Like, your emotions are at an all-time heightened, just all of the things. And I think having empathy, and I think you said one of the midwives was just so beautiful and cuddled you and cried with you, and I think that's so amazing. So yeah, there was that. And then also the doctor not like saying that you didn't hear the midwife say that there was something wrong with the placenta. Like, that is medical gaslighting to a fucking T. You heard it, she said it, and then you've re-questioned yourself. Like, that fucking infuriates me.
Yeah.
You know, imagine if nobody else did hear that, then you're going to forever think you're crazy and that you didn't hear it because he said that wasn't true. That infuriates me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because, like, what if that like that was the reason? Like, what if there was something wrong with the placenta?
Mm,
Like yes, it may not, be able to help a next pregnancy,
but
but it
just
could
knowing.
also, make, yeah, and being able to do more investigations like while I am pregnant to make sure there was nothing wrong with, a future pregnancy.
Mm,
Yeah, just kind of disregarded that side and yeah.
yeah. And so you had Alfie, you spent some time with him, you got photos and the castings. I love all of those things. And then you came home. So when did you
Yeah.
have Alfie?
16th of April 23. So just over 12 months ago.
Yeah. And since then you've had
Yeah.
one pregnancy and a miscarriage.
Two. I fell pregnant last year in October as well. But unfortunately, I don't know if it was a chemical pregnancy, but I was about 5 weeks when, like, I lost, yeah, like all the tissue and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it was about
chemical
5 weeks
potentially.
then. Yeah.
And so if
Yeah.
we're going to talk about like the practical parts of child loss, what was some of the best things that people did for you after Alfie and going forward?
Um, I didn't have all that much support, and that may sound bad because people were like, it did help in the aspect of like bringing some food and stuff. But like, that was family. Like, I didn't have any friends or anything that would like were showing support in a way
Mm,
because they didn't know how to.
mm,
So that was hard. Like, like, yes, I had family I could talk to, but I just wanted, to cry on friends' shoulders and,
mm.
you know, all that. But it's one of those subjects that no one wants to hear.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about stillborn. No
Mm,
one wants to talk about, neonatal loss and, even older children loss. Like, nobody wants to talk about it. And it makes it so hard
mm,
for women who are going through it to know where they can actually go for the help and support. And that was the hardest thing for me. Like, it's been 12 months and I think I had found the podcast, but then I couldn't find it again. And I remember I was talking to um, this lady and I said, I just want a podcast that I can listen to and listen to women's stories and know that I'm not alone. And just randomly, one day I was on Spotify and it's popped up. And I was like, this is the podcast that I
our
had
one,
seen.
this one.
And so I've been nonstop listening to it since. Yes, yeah,
Oh, I love that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, people ask
So
like,
yeah, it's
what
been
is
amazing.
they're like,
It's all I
is it? Yeah, they like, what is the impact on me for doing the podcast? And I'm like, oh, I just love it because it makes me not feel alone. I know that you, like the person who's sharing their story,
yeah,
loves it. And then, there are so many American podcasts, there's so many British podcasts, but to have Aussies, like, and I've
yeah,
got like, I've got a Canadian
yeah,
mama that we've interviewed before and we're going to redo her story again soon because she wants to
yeah,
do one like 12 months on. And we have got loads of applicants for people around the world, and I will end up doing that. But I think at the moment, the thing that everyone
yeah,
is loving is that we are here in Australia talking about
yeah,
Australian things, and I think that's been super comforting as well. Is that people feel close to
yeah,
home, that this is not just happening around the world; it's happening in our back doorstep as well.
yeah,
And have
yeah.
outside of this, have you been able to find any like support groups in Toowoomba or in your local area? Like, I know it does feel better when we've got people closer to us as well.
Um, so I did like I searched on Facebook, Toowoomba, stillborn and loss page, and I did find one,
Yeah.
and it is run by Miss Alyssa, who was here as well.
Oh, cool.
So I had found that I found that the day before um I heard her story on here. So that was like crazy as well. Like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
it was
love that.
amazing
It was
listening
like,
to her
you were meant
story,
to
and
connect
I
with her.
haven't, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Haven't reached out yet, but I do plan on reaching out and, trying to maybe catch up for a coffee with her or something. But that's the only thing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think connecting with other lost mums is and dads is so important because I think we feel alone and then we listen to the podcasts and then everyone wants to hang out with other lost parents, but then everyone's always too scared to do it. But if you just reach out and say, hey, like, do you want to grab a coffee? Don't underestimate the power of that friendship because it's what we always miss. And when we're going through it, it's like my friends didn't know what to
Yeah.
say, my friends didn't know what to do. And I guess we can't expect people to know what to say or
Yeah.
do unless we all keep talking about it, which we will with the podcast. But in the meantime, you can make friends with
Yeah.
people in this community. Everyone wants connection. So absolutely reach out to her.
Yeah.
And just, for anyone else listening, like find people in
Yeah.
your local area or even reach out to me and say, hey, do you know anyone in this area? And I'm happy to do a post on Instagram on my story and say, hey, we've got some, people in Toowoomba who's available. Let's like do a coffee and catch up. And I won't be there obviously if it's in an area not close to me, but
Yeah.
those connections are so beautiful. And,
Yeah.
everyone's feedback is always like, oh, I just loved being able to talk. Like, I would love, Naomi, for you to send me the photos of Alfie in his sack. I'd love that, and if you're at coffee with people that could, you're
Yeah.
able to show photos of things that you wouldn't potentially normally share with people that haven't experienced it. So,
Yeah.
don't be afraid to kind of make
Yeah.
those connections.
And like that is, yeah. Well, that is one thing too that is very hard, like because he was so early, I feel like I can't share his photos because obviously gestation, they're not fully developed. Like they have, like he had everything, like, hands, feet, fingers, toes, his little willy. And yeah, so like he had everything. It's just I can't share those pictures because I'm too worried about what it's going to do to other people.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't feel that way.
I know. Yeah. I understand. I was even looking at a friend's story this morning. They just had a little baby last week. And in one of the photos, he was laying there and his mouth was open. And I was like, very rarely share photos of Milli when she'd passed away, especially not of her face, or I do it in black and white. I am cautious of that.
Yeah.
But like this photo of this little baby, he was alive, obviously, and he looked alive. But then I'm also like, why do I get so scared of sharing these photos of Milli when if she was alive, they wouldn't think that looked bad? Like, but whereas I see her with her mouth open and I know that it was because when she passed away, her mouth opened and that freaked me out. And so I get scared to share those photos. Like, yeah, it's just such a strange, I analyze everything, obviously, and I know we do, and we don't want to put people off. And I've had trolls, fucking wild trolls on social media, even when I just share photos of Milli and Niku when she was alive. And it's like, mate, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm not even sharing the photos of her past, which I should be able to, but I don't.
Yeah, 100%.
Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so unfair, like, on the people in this community. Like, nobody wants to be a part of this community, but we all love this community. We no matter what, we should be able to share our babies and not feel guilty about how it might affect other people. It's so unfair.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And then like even, I do share the most tasteful ones, if that's even a thing. And I still get people like, you should be doing this in private or you should whatever. Like, I'm like, fuck off. Go fucking somewhere else if you don't want to see my stuff, you know? Like, and
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
I'll always be like, you know, you get to share pictures
Yeah.
of your baby. Why can't I share pictures of mine? So, but I would love for you to
Yeah.
send me photos of Alfie. I would
Yeah.
be honoured to see his pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. He was so cute. Like, I will admit, like, you know, that gestation, like his head was a little bit squishy and but he was perfect. Like, you know, he had everything, and like I am so grateful that my friend was there taking photos. 'Cause after I left, I was like, I have no pictures of his hands, I have no pictures of his feet, and as weird as it is, I have no pictures of his willy. I have nothing, like none of those pictures. And and when she had sent me those pictures, there was the pictures of his hands, of his feet, and of his willy, and
Oh, I love it.
I was just so grateful that,
Seriously,
you know, I
that's a
did have a,
thing. Like we have the X-ray of Milli at
yeah,
home, and it's of her both her arms and her legs and her body
yeah,
because she had the broken limbs. And the
yeah,
first thing I always say is, I go, look at her
yeah,
little vagina. Like, you know, we're proud of those things.
yeah,
And yeah, there's
yeah,
photos. Yeah, it's everything. It's all we have, right? So
yeah, yeah. It's the only proof, in a way, like
mm,
as strange it is, it's the only proof of that gender that we had.
and that they existed, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And so,
yeah. And like with this teddy, like
mm, oh, look at him.
with his little teddy, so it actually was the same length as him.
Oh,
So what I've done is I added a weight in there that was the same weight as him, and then the little necklace. So I had actually got this necklace, you know, for me. It's got his ashes in it, but I always found it too heavy on my neck. So I've put it on here, and this is our Alfie.
I love
Like whenever we
that.
go out anywhere, we take this bear, and yeah, yeah, this yeah,
I love that so much. That's so
yeah,
special. And he will always be part of, you know, the girls will always talk about him. I'm sure you guys will always include him in everything. And I think something like a bear, as simple as it is,
yeah,
means so
yeah,
much.
yeah. Well, his nickname even became Little Alfie Bear.
Alfie Bear, that's so cute.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. So, and that was like literally before I'd even done any of like this with this little bear.
little Alfie Bear.
So yeah, yeah, it was just yeah,
And
yeah,
so you guys got him
so
cremated,
precious.
you've got
But
the
yeah,
ashes.
yeah, yeah. I struggled finding an urn because I didn't want anything like that was too babyish in a way. And like, you know, all those old-fashioned urns that they have these days. But I
Hmm.
found they had this one.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So it's called Mod Urn, and they designed it to be like a little just decoration piece. And I was able to customize it like with the
Mm.
color and everything. Um, because all the colors were
Modurn.
super like more adulty. Yeah, so yeah, DURN. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So they customized it for us, and yeah, it was nice. Like I love having it up, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
so
nice
sweet.
little piece on the in the yeah, up in his section. Yeah,
I love that. Goodness me, I've written down on here and I still keep going back to it in my mind when you woke up on that morning and you were like, I don't feel pregnant.
yeah,
Did you ever listen
yeah.
to Bianca's, the,
Um,
there was Bianca's story, she lost baby Bronte and she said the same thing. She was in the shower one morning and she's like,
yeah,
I just instantly didn't feel pregnant. And I was like, fuck. And that was the
yeah,
day that the baby had passed away.
yeah, yeah. And it's crazy. Like it's a feeling like you can't actually explain. Like, yeah, but yes, I did listened to her, and I was just like, okay, I'm not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And even my mental health nurse, like, still talking to her, she was like, through the pregnancy, there was things you were saying, like, about having fears of losing him. She goes, I do believe you knew deep down that,
Mm.
you were going to lose him. Um, so it is funny now looking back that even through it, when I was still like, no, he's fine,
Mm.
that people were hearing, me say, like, I don't know, I just feel like something's off.
Yeah, well, we do like, because like your story was very similar to mine. Like, it was actually quite triggering, thinking like there was times when I went for an appointment and it took them like 30 minutes to find her heartbeat. Like, they could not find it with a Doppler.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, fuck, I was so lucky. Like, but in those moments, I remember being prepared for them to not find it. Like, I was not going to be okay, but I kept thinking, fuck,
Yeah.
like they don't have a heartbeat. And then the anterior placenta, and that just pisses me off because, we get so dismissed. It's an anterior placenta, you don't know the difference. For me, it was like, oh, it's your first pregnancy. But even still, I'm like, I'm still a woman, and I'm 38 years old. Even though I've never been pregnant before, I still knew what I should have been feeling. And my instincts were telling me that they weren't correct. And, I hope that my next pregnancy that I do have an anterior placenta, because I can fucking guarantee I'm going to know the difference between what I should have been feeling and what I didn't. And so, yeah, that shits me. I just think, and I've got enough friends who have anterior placentas that are like, oh, I still feel them. Like, so very frustrating.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I found very crazy was that a lot of the stories, everyone has anterior placenta.
Mm.
It's crazy.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
we're all
and
we're all told the same thing.
yeah, I think that's still like they still dismiss you. But then there's all these people that have an anterior placenta that do feel their child. Like, that's what I was on the Central Coast a couple of weeks ago, and my cousin's fiance is pregnant, and she was like, oh, I felt him have the hiccups the other day, and I just like burst into tears because I was like, I never, you've got an anterior placenta and you can feel hiccups. Like, what the fuck? Like, I was told I wouldn't be able to feel anything, and I didn't. And so, just.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, the little times that I did feel him move, it was like right down, like on my cervix. It was right down low. I never felt anything like at the front, up the top, nothing.
But like, then it makes
Little
me
times
think,
that I
like,
did feel him, it wasn't much. And
yeah, like, was it because he was unwell, or was that just normal? Like, maybe I don't want to wish myself to have an anterior placenta next pregnancy. Maybe I don't want that.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it's even crazy, like, so with Graceland, like, I was about 14 weeks when I started feeling her. Lily, I was about, I think, maybe 11, but it was more like those butterfly movements. You learn and stuff, like what it feels like. But with Alfie, like, there was nothing. I think I was almost 20 weeks before I even felt a little movement.
Yes.
And yeah, it's very, very strange. Yeah.
Maybe I don't want that. I don't know what I want. I just want a healthy baby.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it's so hard to, keep going on this journey. Like, I've said to people, like, I would love at least one more baby, like, because I don't want to finish on this.
Yeah.
But also, I can't keep doing this as well. Like, the pain and the all that. Like, it's just, it does become like, yeah.
Takes its toll.
Yeah. And it does, like, I was listening to one of the podcasts the other day, and it was one of the first times I had actually gone back and I was looking at his photos. And so during the 12 months, like, since him, like, it was always, it's my fault. Like, my body killed my baby and stuff like that. And it was one of the first times I was looking at the photos and I'm like, my body created that. My body created this precious little boy. And it was more like, yeah, it was like the thankfulness of my body for doing what it did, like creating him to that point. And yeah.
That is so beautiful. I love that. And I think that, like, because so many times I speak to people and we're still in those early stages and we're just like heavy into it. I mean, if we will go back older podcasts, even I myself was just an emotional wreck the whole time, and I could never give any advice because I was just like, I don't know how we're going to survive this and if we're going to, but we're all in this together. But I love that, hearing that, and I don't I don't know if you listening to one of the podcasts might have heard me saying that only a few weeks ago when we first got back from New Zealand, I was laying in bed, and one of the biggest triggers that we all have is leaving our child in the hospital. And I remember laying in bed a couple of weeks ago and I was having nightmares, and I was laying there thinking, okay, I haven't had nightmares for a while and I haven't had bad thoughts. Why? And then I remember thinking, well, normally right now I'd be thinking about like leaving Milli in the hospital. And then that's when I felt her say, but Mummy, I left first. And it was like, I didn't leave her, like I left her body there, but I left her, you know, in the hands of the midwives. And, you know, but I'd never ever left the hospital prior to that, you know, like I birthed her on the Friday, we got taken in the ambulance. And I did not leave that building the entire time until she passed away. And so over time, whilst in the early stages, we are like, how the fuck am I ever going to survive this? I left my child, I did this, you know, I did all these things. But I love that you're now honouring yourself and your body, like, you know, you did create him and you did get to have that time with him and your body didn't fail you. You know, nature fucking takes its course sometimes, which is not the course we want it to take. But, you know, I didn't leave Milli in the hospital. She left and went to heaven, and then I was able to leave. And I did create her, and I had 39 weeks with her and all of the things. And so I love hearing you be kind to yourself, because I think we can be so awful to ourselves in grief naturally. And so that's so beautiful, and I love that.
Yeah, like it's definitely hard, but it's like it's such a nice feeling since then. Like I do remember one time being in the shower and I was so angry at my body that I'm not gonna lie, like I was like kind of hitting my belly because I'm like, you failed me. And like it was so
that makes me
so now being in a place where I'm grateful. So it's taken a lot, like to get to this point of, you know, being able to say like I'm still grateful for my body and the little person like it did create. Like I still have my good and bad days still. Like they're becoming a lot less and more, you know, like, oh, look at this Alfie, like, and like seeing certain things and going, you know, oh, hi Alfie. And and like then for his first birthday we done like a cupcake and sang to him, like his little bear. And so that was very special.
And I think our words are so powerful to ourselves. Like, you know, you were so angry at yourself and you took it out on your body. But like, so I've been listening to an IVF meditation each night at the moment. So I'm on day 10 at the moment, and I listen to it. And he says, think about your he says, how does your fertile body feel right now? And I thought, because we always say like I'm infertile or my infertility journey. And I'm going to start changing that. Like my body is fertile. I am fertile. And that is just such a beautiful thought over the negative thoughts. So instead of, you know, and so instead of telling yourself that your body failed you, your body created life. And, you know, I even said it on a live yesterday, like I always say Milli's DNA created her genetic condition, and I'm like, oh, I hate that. Like she didn't create that. And then I did say Dylan and I created it, which is also awful, but it was our, it's just fucked. But trying to think of the kinder ways to speak to ourselves, because we would never say those things about our kids, and so it's sad that we say it about ourselves. But I think talking about our fertile body, and our body is so capable of all of the things. Your body is capable of creating and holding another baby. You've done it twice, you've done it 3 times, and you are capable of doing it again if that's the path that you choose to go down.
Like, and I have had people turn around and go, does it make you, like, how does it make you feel, like, seeing other people and having babies? And I'm like it's hard in the aspect of like going, that should have been me, like I should have been bringing my baby home too. But I know deep down, I do know that this is not the end of this story. I do know I'm going to be bringing another baby home, and that's what I just have to keep reminding myself of. And it helps so much not letting those negative feelings come in, because it's not anyone else's fault that this happened. It's not my fault. It's not his fault. It just happened, and it's unfair. Absolutely. This is where we are. Like I copped so much like shit after I had him, of like, people calling him just a miscarriage, and I'm like, no, like I birthed him for 10 hours. I was in labor for 10 hours. I birthed him. I had to plan his funeral. I had to choose the casket for him to go in. I had to choose an urn. I had to file for his birth certificate and his death certificate. And like a lot of people don't realize, like, they know that, in your 3rd trimester, like, yeah, that's normal, but they don't realize that you can still have to off in the 2nd trimester. And
I know, I think when you reached out to me, you said, oh, if you want an early term and I was like, oh, how early? Stillborn. And I said, how early? And you was like 23 plus 3. And I thought, that to me just doesn't seem early, like that's so far along still, that's not. I hate that. And then I even hate that before 20 weeks is a miscarriage. That's fucked. Like that's just not. Like you were saying earlier, 7 weeks you still see, you still pass what it was,
Like I said to my mom, I was like me personally, I feel like if you've still got to birth your child, like go through labor, like that should be classed still as a stillborn. Absolutely. Because you still birthed them.
Yeah, they were stillborn.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I have been touched many times by your story. I think you're amazing, and you've been able to get up and go on and continue to be an amazing mum, and continue to, show who Alfie was in your family. I think the girls are so lucky to have you. I think you've done an amazing job to honour him.
I try every day, and I mean that's all any of us can do, right? Is just try our best and keep going, ride the roller coaster.
Certainly is a roller coaster, and I love that you have been able to, and I love that you imagine that you're going to bring another child home. I think we always know deep down whether we are or aren't, and like you were also saying that your social worker said that you always knew, like I think we always know whether we're going to bring them home, and I think we always know when we will. And I only said it to Dylan the other day, I do genuinely see us bringing a child home, which I couldn't see before.
And it's hard, like you're like, I want it now, it needs to happen now.
I know.
But
Absolutely.
yeah,
It's a yearning
yeah,
inside of you, and I can see it from my
yeah,
husband too. It's like, oh, my heart
yeah,
hurts.
yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, my lovely.
It's
Was there
definitely,
anything
yeah,
else
it's
that you
not.
wanted to share?
Yeah, I think so. I'm a very forgetful person. My ADHD brain likes to take over and it goes a million miles an hour, and so
Oh no, you've been
yeah.
awesome. I'm sorry
But I
there's been a
think
bit
I,
of a lag. I think it's been amazing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'm really glad like that I got to do this. Like I said, um, yeah, to like the mental health nurse and stuff like that, and other people I'm seeing. I'm like, I just, is it going to bring up a lot? Yes, like, but I know it's going to be so healing being able to go, I have a son. His name
Hmm.
is Alfie, and this is everything about him. And, this is what I had to go through. Like the surgery whilst pregnant, like that was so scary, and all that, and like the feelings of, you know, feeling like I let down my children, like
Hmm.
that was hard. Um, and then, yeah, like life now, and like it's hard still, as I said, but we're going and we're getting there, and yeah,
And I think a lot of parents will, feel connected to this in the part where you say like that you feel like you let your kids down. I think that's so hard for,
yeah,
a mum particularly to go home and feel like your body let you down, you let your kids down. They're crying and grieving for
yeah,
their little brother. You're also crying and grieving for the loss of
yeah,
your son, and then you've got to carry that burden as well. It is so hard, and I'm glad you've got good
yeah,
support around you.
yeah,
I don't think we can ever stop seeing our
yeah. Like
counsellors and
I
stuff.
remember this. Yeah, yeah. Like I do remember this one day, Graceland, the oldest one, she had finished kindy and she came home and she's like, why does everyone else get a brother and I can't?
Oh,
And yeah. And then, yeah, it was like, oh. And then we're talking like literally like maybe a week ago. And she was like, is every baby that we have just going to keep dying?
oh,
And I was like, no, no. Like, and she's like, well, Alfie died and that last baby died. And, is Lily
oh,
going to die?
oh
And I'm like, no, like,
no.
Lily died. Yeah.
And I guess that's the hard thing as well, because I know you
Yeah.
said
And
earlier, like,
like, since,
being honest with them is good. And I do believe that as well. I think like open transparency and the way things are
yeah,
worded is important. But then also then having to navigate the part of
yeah,
them thinking everyone is also going to die, which we think as adults, we think that as well. So you can imagine as a child, they're also going to think it.
yeah, yeah. Like, she actually doesn't leave my side, neither does Lily. Um, like, she used to always go for sleepovers at grandparents' house and stuff like that. And she now, like, come nighttime, no, she's got to be at home. She's got to be with me. Um, yeah, and like it does make it harder, like especially when I'm having a bad day and I'm just like, I just want a
Mm,
little bit of time to myself. I need to decompress a bit.
yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Are
so
they
it
seeing
is good
counsellors,
her
or is
having
there any
kindy
kind
this
of
year.
help for them?
So yeah, she did start seeing Lady Kate. So we went through some stuff with her and how she was feeling. She didn't really open up too much. She is also in the process of being assessed for like ADHD and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, yeah, she doesn't like to talk about it with other people, so that
Okay.
makes it extremely hard.
That's challenging.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, hopefully there's if there's any advice from anyone listening on ways to help, a 5-year-old who is struggling to talk to anyone outside of their parents.
yeah,
I know in another life, I used to be a business coach, and I actually helped a girl who was an art psychotherapist, and she used to work with kids. So, you know, something like that could be super helpful, where instead of talking about it, she could go in and draw it or something like that. So I think there's probably definitely other options out there that also takes the load off you as parent to help her unpack it all as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much, my lovely. So
No,
much.
Thank you for having me. Like, it's been an honor to be a part of this. Yeah.
Thank you. I always feel honoured that people trust me to share the story, and I know it's such a vulnerable space, you know, and I know at one stage in there you said something about TMI, and I always love all the TMIs, so I just think this is the best platform for it, because then people are going to be listening and going, oh my God, that was me, or laughing or crying or whatever it is. And so this is the podcast for all the TMIs.
Yes, yeah. Like, I feel very safe, and like I said to you a message, you know, I said I don't think I could pick a better person I could trust more with my story.
Oh, thank you so much. That really, really means a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Little Life, Big Loss. If you are here because you've experienced baby loss recently or a long time ago, I am so sorry. If you have never experienced the loss of a baby, but you are here to learn, thank you. If you are here because you have just had the news that you have to make some really tough decisions, I am so sorry. I hope these podcasts give you the help and the guidance that you need. If any of today's conversation has triggered any uneasy emotions for you, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 or lifeline.org. Another organisation working specifically with pre- and postnatal depression and anxiety is Panda, Panda. You can find them at panda.org.au. And remember that postnatal depression and anxiety does not discriminate. It can affect both men and women, mums and dads. Please seek help from your GP, psychologist, your local hospital, a midwife, OB, Lifeline or Panda. I love you and I miss you, my Milli.